Hi, today I want to show you how to edit images in Krita. This is an amazing software. It's for free and it can do anything you need to edit and make images. Once you've downloaded it, you can start a new project or image. You define a pixel size here and a resolution. Let's go with 500. You can also save that, but I will just hit create. And now we are here. And I'm already down here on the freehand brush tool. I can already increase the size here, pick a color here, and I can start painting. So what happens when I paint? I paint on a layer. So basically I'm working on paint layer 1 here, which means everything that I do is saved on this layer, which means I can take another layer and use this one here. And on top of that layer, I can paint some more. And these layers are very important for Krita because depending on these layers, you can basically swap them around here. Now it's behind the background, so then it just disappears. Now it's before the purple one. So this is basically the whole functionality behind Krita, where you put things on layers, and these layers you can then target and manipulate. You can also manipulate, for example, a whole layer at once and reduce the opacity here to make it fade away a little bit. You could also take a whole layer here and use the transform tool, and basically this transform tools can tilt, for example, make it smaller, make it larger, and with shift you can also make everything larger at once. And this is actually already a really nice feature here that is often used for editing stuff. So the next important thing that you always need is these dockers here. They might actually look different on your setup because you actually have to go into the settings here, into the dockers, and then you can choose which dockers you want to see. For example, there's also things you can do with animations here, and then you can basically have an animation where you pick the frames. I'm not going to use animation anytime soon, so we are going to use one image editing just for this guide, one at a time. But it's important to notice that if you miss some of these dockers, you go to settings dockers and then just pick the dockers you want. You can always move these around and put them somewhere else if you want to. And then you have the full maximum customizability on how you want your Krita to look. Then one of the most interesting things about using Krita are the brushes. You have these brushes down here, and every brush, I'm going to go use the freehand brush tool. And this is one of my favorite ones. This is the spraying. So basically it will spray a little bit in the middle and then fade out towards the edges of the brush. And you can always resize it. You can take the opacity down for the brush as well. This one is called Basic 1, and it's simply a very nice brush that fully paints everything in that area of the brush. And now you can always go into these color selector, change the color. You can always go into the tool options and also change how the smoothing works. And here in the tool options, you can always change how these tools work. And you can also go into the settings and fine-tune every brush even more. And basically I have here my favorites, and I always pick the favorite ones that I need most of the time. So what brush do I like as well? These kind of brushes can give some texture sometimes. And there's also, this is the dry brushing it's called. And also I like this one because this one will actually take the pixels. So this is a pixel brush, a pixel art brush. And basically if you want to make pixel art, this one allows you, if you go down to 1 pixel, for example, pixel. So if you go down to 1 brush, 1 pixel, you will have a very clear 1 pixel brush. Boop, 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 boop. And always you can also go to the erase mode here. So press E or set erase mode, then this will be activated, and then you will erase instead of brushing. And this is always very useful as well. So let's get into some more features that are really nice. You on top here, you have, for example, horizontal mirror, which basically just means what you do on the left side is mirrored to the right side. You can switch the same one up and down, so it will be mirrored top and bottom. You can also kind of change what the brush actually does. So the normal is it just paints over. You could also say it lightens something, and this will kind of change how the brush behaves. But usually I'm just on the normal mode. You can always here pick the color. You can also try to have a kind of gradient. Let's do everything green again. Of course, there's a lot of tools on the left side, which are all very useful. So basically this one is the text tool. This will create a new text image where you can basically say whatever you need. Hello world. Then you change the text. It's not really great to use, but still it is better than nothing. And I use this actually for, here's the vector line. The other was actually on top of it. So let's make it some smaller like this. Okay, so now we have a hello world here on top. It's actually still too large, but yeah, that's how you make a text. What else are we going to use all the time? The brush obviously is something that we use all the time, but you need to make sure that you're not on the vector layer. The vector layer is different from the art layers, so to say. Let's make a new layer here and let's go paint some more. Then we have the line tool, which basically you click and drag and you make lines. Then you have the same with the rectangle tool. Here it's good to remember that you can have not filled or you can have a filled rectangle depending on kind of foreground color. That would make a full rectangle. Same goes with this one here, but these tools are quite nice to use. What else can we use? This one is a very good where you can basically that's the transform layer or Control T, where you basically you can shift it all a little bit. You can turn it around, for example, or you can make it the whole layer larger or smaller. This one you can also use in combination with the select tools down here. So for example, these ones here select certain areas. So let's go for the elliptical tool shape here. And everything that I have selected here, I can also go and then move it around. So this is actually really useful often because then you can pick small areas and move it around. Then we have the move a layer. It's basically the same, but only for moving. Then you can crop an image, for example, like this, hit enter, and then it crops the whole image to that area. And this one is also quite nice if you use colors because it's a color picker. Basically, what else is very important often? Well, these are the select tools, so you can basically select things. You can also click Shift and select more things, which is actually quite nice. And now when you, for example, if you use the brush tool, use red, for example, then I will only color in things that are in the selected area. So this is something that I use very much. This is really awesome. You can also always click on the select tool again, press Shift and select more areas. So this is actually really nice. So let's go and paint these ones red as well. Let's go and paint everything red in these areas. And one of the things that I also use a lot while using the select key is to invert the selection. So now I don't have the selected areas that I actually clicked on. I have the reversed areas. So let's go put on some yellow here. And now we can see I painted the whole picture by just reversing the selection and painting it again. So this is actually really nice. You can also take the selection and actually grow the selection or shrink the selection. So for example, if I grow the selection by 5, now the red areas will be a little bit smaller. So if I paint over it, I can make it like this. So for example, this could be very useful if I take the, let's actually deselect here, select deselect. And if I, for example, select the text area, let's go and hit the magic marker here. And now I clicked on the background, so it doesn't, let's actually shift click and select everything here that's not text. And now, for example, I have the whole text area covered. I will make a new layer, put this below. I actually have to invert the selection. So now I have the text in my selection. I will grow the selection by, for example, 5. And now I can paint a surrounding of the text black. So now I have a text with a black background. This is one of the fastest way to actually get a text with a black background, just in case you want to, for example, make it stand out versus the background. So these are all the tools that are super important. Otherwise, you can always also create masks. If I put a massive snowball here, a green snowball here, and I want to kind of give it a shadow, I will take the color here, make it a little darker, and I will come in here, make the brush a little smaller. Okay, and what I could do now is I go to the next layer and basically paint it like this and try to make a nice little shadow. So if the light is coming from the top left, then I can make a shadow here. If I want to now clip this one, I said it before, I would have to take these two layers, group them, quick group, and then put the alpha mode on the, I will put this one on top. So what I did now here was to put the shadow one on top of the underground, and what it basically did is to clip the paint layer to whatever is under it. And if I remove this, then you will see the whole image again. And that's how clipping works, and masking. So this is something that's very, very useful. For example, if I now make another one here and mask it again, let's see if we can actually manage this one here and give it a nice little highlight on top and even more highlight. And then it's basically masked to the background. And that's how you do it with a mask. And yeah, these are pretty much the main functions that I use all the time while editing and either changing images or creating images. If it's thumbnails, if it's, I don't know, 2D game assets, that's mainly the most tools that I use. And yeah, it's a free software, which is really amazing because I don't want to pay anything for my software if possible. And it's open source, which means probably you will be able to use the software for a long time to come if you still need it in the future, but that's the way it is right now. So yeah, thank you guys for tuning in and see you next time. Bye bye.